Welcome back to Horseshoe Theory, the only podcast. Today's guests are YouTube pioneers, true canonical trailblazers in their respective spaces. Steve Ramsey runs the channel Woodworking for Mere Mortals. One of the very first woodworking channels on YouTube started back in 2008. Since then, he has amassed hundreds of millions of views and garnered a following of almost 2 million subs. Chad Reynolds, the co-founder and executive producer of the channel Clean My Space, the first YouTube channel to do simple cleaning tutorials, who as well has gotten hundreds of millions of views and millions of subscribers since the late 2000s. Together they also host a podcast called Chad and Steve Have a Podcast. Now what's important about this episode is that Chad and Steve are both Gen Xers. And sure, we talk a bit of shop about YouTube, but most importantly, we talk about the generational differences between Gen X and Gen Z. We bridge the generational divide, we tread new psychic ground, and we gain some wisdom along the way. Who knew that 20-somethings talking to 40-somethings would be so novel in 2024, but here we are. So please, give your undivided attention to Chad and Steve.
I've smoked since I was like 15. So
cigarettes.
Yeah, these are good for me. I don't think does anyone get onto Zins independently of anything else?
Yeah.
Why would you do that? That seems surprising that someone would just start with Zins.
That people are starting with like nicotine. I started with nicotine gum.
That's weird.
Like like some people are quitting cigarettes and they're like going down to nicotine gum, and like I'm going the opposite direction, you know. But
why?
Because nicotine is a nootropic.
Okay.
So it's good for your brain.
Really? In what way?
Well, I don't think it's so good without it these days.
So you're not on nicotine right now, is what you're saying?
A little bit.
Well, it would be good for your brain.
I actually normally am on nicotine. I would be on nicotine right now, but Brogan's vetoed me being on any more nicotine gum.
Take a Zyn.
I did take a Zyn this morning. So look, this is a Zyn. This is 6 milligrams. This is illegal in Canada, but we have it in the studio.
Wow.
And we're gonna get much more illegal goods in the studio, like raw milk.
What?
Other things that are banned in Canada. Raw milk's banned in Canada.
Bureaucratic hellhole.
Anyway,
country
this is a good transition into the theme. Does this surprise you that young people are addicted to nicotine, like Gen Z?
I think people have been addicted to everything forever.
That's true. True.
I'm just more so confused because I used to smoke myself, and I remember liking the feeling of nicotine, but not being able to separate that from the tobacco part.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I actually don't know what the feeling is outside of what a cigarette hit would be, or a cigarette high.
Yeah, this is the thing that I feel like, because I smoked and then I vaped and then I would addicted to vaping. Like I would deny a cigarette if someone offered me a cigarette to vape.
Okay.
Because the addiction becomes vaping. Now I'm into Zins. Like I won't vape or smoke a cigarette, but I'll always take a Zyn. And it's so much nicotine, you need like 2 a day. Like it's not compulsive all the time. It's just like a blast of nicotine.
So you're like just totally wired afterwards? Is that what you're feeling?
Yeah,
from
it's like coffee. Like when you drink a cup of coffee and just feel like,
Yeah.
oh, here I am. Like I'm kind of activated now. Nicotine's like that.
Can I ask how it differs from coffee or caffeine?
It's a shorter half-life. It activates quicker and it's out of your system quicker. You could take like a cigarette. You could take like a nicotine patch at 8 p.m. and then you could go to sleep. If you drank coffee at 8 p.m., you'd be staying up.
Yeah.
That's the main difference.
Way more addictive. I crave those.
So you intentionally.
I'm like,
so do you still smoke?
I'll smoke like if I'm out drinking and if someone offers me a cigarette, I'll smoke. But I don't like think about cigarettes ever.
Yeah,
I'm probably,
cigarettes
twice
are.
a month.
Where would you be
out.
when somebody's offering you a cigarette? I mean, because you
Party.
can't smoke
Like,
in somebody's house. They would be smoking, or you have to go.
Oh no,
step
outside the bar. Like I'm with,
in a bar, you can smoke.
No, like I'm with a group of
Outside.
people and we go for.
You go outside.
Yeah, we go outside and there's like a natural. You've been dancing,
Well, in this
dancing for like
cold
an
weather,
hour.
there's no way. I'd be like, fuck no.
It's a cold cigarette's so nice, and the nicotine, your fingers get like
I
completely
can't walk
numb.
out into this weather. I walk outside and I'm like, it just hits me with this cold burst of air.
You're from San Francisco.
Yeah.
I've been to San Francisco, and it gets rather
It gets
cold
very
there.
chilly there, but it's a different kind of chilly.
It's like a
It's
wall
like wear a
here,
jacket
right?
chilly. It's like, yeah. But it's not like that hits you in the face cold.
Like where it hurts your
icy.
face.
What would hurt your face?
Yeah.
No.
Getting back to the zines, how long does one last?
It burns. Like it's a strong burn
Sure.
for like
You're gonna try one?
20 minutes.
You guys could pass it
I'm
around.
borderline? Like I'm borderline?
I'm pro this. I think you just put it in your mouth for like a second and then take it out,
No.
and you'd feel so good.
No, I just started drinking again.
Explains so
If
good.
you've never liked nicotine, I wouldn't take one.
If you can convince me what so good actually is without those being those broad terms,
Right.
I will.
You'll
try it.
feel more focused, and your mood will be better.
Okay.
You know, Joe Rogan started. He's never smoked in his life, and he started taking Zins.
That's how it
This
goes.
Oh, really?
This is like
Yeah.
such intergenerational peer pressure here.
It's Joe
Don't you want to
Rogan
be cool?
approved.
Don't you want to be cool with a youth?
Joe Rogan approved.
So this is kind of the theme of this podcast. Is Chad and Steve here? They're both OG YouTubers. They've been doing YouTube for 15 years, and they're Gen X.
How about that? Nobody knows we exist.
Yeah, they're not Boomers. They're
No.
Gen X.
No.
And Brogan and I are Gen Z, so we're gonna talk about that.
Yeah.
We're gonna have an intergenerational chat. Not something that happens very often these days.
So important.
And we're starting off with zines, and I already feel completely out of place.
Well, you're calling.
I feel like there's going to be a lot of healing here tonight.
Yeah, we're gonna heal some intergenerational trauma.
Definitely.
Oh, is it like ayahuasca? Is this an experience? Am I going to get
No,
something?
you're gonna create
just-
intergenerational trauma, if anything. When you type in intergenerational into Google, the first thing that pops up is trauma. It's not conversations. We don't talk about talking between generations. The only thing we talks about in terms of generations is trauma. Sucks. Intergenerational relationships have been so important for me with my mentor JJ. So, I like talking to old people.
He's kind of one of the olds. Huh?
He's one of the olds.
Yeah.
He's not quite. He's like Gen
like-
X millennial.
Yeah.
But he's also not quite old. So now that you have
Not quite.
now you
I'm
have
always the oldest guy in the room.
a committed audience of older people who will answer any of your questions
Yeah, 'cause- yeah.
about being old.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions about being old?
I have lots. Do you have questions about being old?
Yeah.
First, I don't think I'm old.
How old are you? Explain your ages.
I'm 57.
57.
I would have guessed younger.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
Steve is 57. Steve from Woodworking for Mere Mortals. That's how we're going to do the introduction.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll do
Introduce
like
me, I'll
a
do
minute
it.
Do you
long-
think people
okay,
who
pre-intro.
watch and know you would know your age? Have you ever said it in one of your videos?
I don't know. It's not the kind of topic that would come up,
Do you have a celebrity page on the internet which shares what all your information is?
Oh, yeah, those things exist. I mean, you could certainly seek that out, find my birthday and whatnot.
Fair enough.
I have famousbirthdays.com reached out to me,
Right, of
and I gave
course.
them fake information. I told them I was from Kazakhstan,
Uh-huh.
and they printed it. So
They will.
right
They'll
now,
do
I'm officially.
anything.
My mom called me. She was like, "I didn't know you're from Kazakhstan." Yeah. Oh, and I'm gonna give them. I'm doing an interview with them, and I gave them a bunch of answers about how I was from Kazakhstan and stuff. And and so I really hope they print it. That'll be awesome. Now, how old are you, Chad?
Should I do the how old do I
Of
look or
clean my
should it
space?
just
No,
of clean my
never,
space? there you
never
go.
do that. Never do.
Never
old
do
I
that.
look. It's a bad question. It's going to be. They're either going to go too far or too little.
Fair
It's
enough.
just gonna be off.
I'm 46 years old.
46. Okay.
So there you go.
What is the Gen X age range?
19,
I don't know.
1976 was from everything that I had researched. 1976 is literally the sweet spot of Generation X. Not to
Wow.
make it all about me.
That's crazy. Anything
That's
before
what Gen Xers do.
anything before 1990 is just the past.
I feel like my sister's 40. Yeah.
Damn.
And identifies as
I don't know. She's 80.
That would be millennial.
She just
late
turned
millennial.
41, so she's 83.
What?
She's
That's,
83.
I think
I see.
that's the very beginning of millennial.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
think so.
she's what we call a Jillennial. X-millennial. That's
So
that's a cuff.
the thing I want to ask about this is,
Yeah.
I commented on one of your recent videos. I left a comment. It's the only comment I've ever left on any of your videos because you were doing a thing about generations.
Alpha.
Yeah, when you were talking about that, you mentioned Zoomers, Boomers, Millennials.
Zoomers, Boomers, Millennials, Gen Alpha. One was conspicuously absent.
Where was Gen X?
It's
And so I
because-
left
yeah.
a comment. I'm like, hey, I'm so happy that we just kind of stay out of the fray and we're not involved in any of this stuff. Holy shit! The list of replies to that. Some
What-
people
what
were
were-
really angry.
What were the replies like?
Yeah, well, you're the one who caused all the problems that is happening right now, or you refuse to get involved.
did
So-
that trigger you because it was true?
No. I don't reply to replies. I just like read them because they pop up on my YouTube.
Yeah,
thing, and I'm like,
it
oh, okay.
notifies you when in
Yeah.
a way that you don't even get notified by your own comments.
Right. Yeah, it's a totally separate thing.
That's why JJ is currently arguing in your comment section with some random, as he loves to do.
He does argue in all of my videos in the comment section.
It's because like he gets the notification on his phone. He's like, oh.
JJ gets notifications on his phone.
What for
I do
the
too.
replies to his comments
Yeah.
on other people's YouTube channels.
Because it doesn't show up in your like YouTube Studio
Yeah.
app. It shows up in your YouTube proper.
I believe Gen X, in the generation lore,
Yeah.
is seen as the generation that you forget about.
Right. It's like the forgotten. You know what we used to be called is the latchkey kids.
The latchkey kids, right?
Before there was Gen X. That's what we were called.
Is that like you would just...
Because it was like we
I
were
was-
like
I
the
was
first
just-
generation that like parents would just both go off to work and leave a key with their kids to come home for after school.
Hold the mic like just here.
Kids, sorry.
Yeah, a little bit closer.
And kids would be like, some kids would have like the key around their neck.
Right.
Like
Have you heard of latchkey syndrome?
No.
It's when you put the key in the your door to unlock it, and then you really need to piss.
What?
It's because you psychologically, when you're about to go home, you're about to put. Anyway, now Gen X is so old, they have the latchkey generation has latchkey syndrome. But nailed it. Okay.
It's when the serial killer's chasing you and you're trying to start the car type of concept.
It's like when you're about to get home, you want to basically evacuate your bowels.
Yeah.
Yeah, do the thing you do at home.
I get you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you associate that.
So like it's basically why you really need to pee. Like if you really need to pee, it gets worse and worse right until like you get to the door, and then
That it's like overwhelming.
yeah, it's like overwhelming.
Okay.
So what you're saying is it's fair to say that we were the first generation of kids who were deprioritized almost due to work and other kind of like it was the first generation where it was like, yeah, you can go home by yourself and you can do this by
Yeah.
yourself and we're working and both.
Well, I
mom
think
and
that's what
dad
we
work.
were originally kind of. That was the pitch. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
That was the plan.
Okay, so we're
That was the thing, is the
we're
latchkey
slowly
kids.
building a Gen X generational identity, and one of the things
Okay.
that we seem to have gotten here is
Yeah.
like a sense of individuality. You were left to your own devices
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
And then, okay, so let's take this from when you were like a kid to like when you were like an adult. So what was the culturally defining moments of Gen X?
Culture defining moments. I would say music obviously would be huge. Music, movies.
Like what?
I would say movies. It would be like any of the John Hughes movies, 16 Candles, Pretty in Pink. These early 80s movies was very Gen X.
I've never heard of any of these. How about
See?
you?
I've heard of Pretty in Pink. I've heard the title before.
Breakfast Club.
Breakfast Club, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those kind of things.
I'm really into I'm really into like early hardcore punk. I know they were
Okay.
all Gen
Dead
X.
Dead
like,
Kennedys.
Yeah, Dead
Yeah.
Kennedys, Black Flag.
Yeah, I was just listening to some
Misfits.
Dead Kennedys today. Actually.
And then like Kurt Cobain was kind of like the
Mhm.
the poster child of Gen X. Was that that was a thing?
I think he was probably influenced by the Black Flags and the
Mhm.
Melvins and the whatnots, and then he like pioneered the popularity of it. Because I mean, from that came, that was grunge, but that was what, the early 90s?
Early 90s, like
Yeah.
91.
But he was like born in '67.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would have been in Gen X.
So here's a question for you. Is it based upon what year you are born or what year you make the most significant cultural impact?
I think it has to do with your astrological sign too.
It's when you're born, because when you grow up, you know, everyone's growing up together, so they have the cultural impact happens together. You know, like when everyone's like 16 to 24, they all like the same popular artist, and then that kind of lumps you in as a generation.
Yeah. Well, we talked about this with JJ, because it's like the generation that defines the popular culture is the generation that consumes it. But the generation that makes it isn't necessarily that generation. Like,
Yeah,
like
that's a
the
good point.
Beatles were all the
Yeah.
Beatles weren't boomers. The Beatles were the generation before the silent generation, right? So like all like the like Jimi Hendrix, like everything for the boomers weren't actual boomers. So you define it by like what you consume. I mean, like technically it's defined by the year you were
Yeah.
born, but like the actual culture of your generation is usually previous. Like Taylor Swift's a millennial. She's not Gen Z.
But Gen Z love her.
Drake is millennial.
Right.
Yeah, but we love her.
We love her.
I love Taylor Swift.
And Drake.
But that's changing today. When
I wish they could kiss.
I wish they
That would be
make a
the
baby
kiss heard
together.
around the
That'd
world.
be awesome.
But don't you think that's changing today with like TikTok stars?
Yeah,
They
yeah.
are the generation that's creating.
Yeah, that's true.
Stuff for
That,
their own generation.
Yeah.
You get big so young now.
But are they? or do they think they're doing that and it just doesn't last as much? Because we've had that conversation about TikTok and the TikTok generation being like more associated with like the platform that you're on as opposed to like the individual. It's like saying Kurt Cobain was just grunge music as opposed to grunge music came from what Kurt Cobain did. And with TikTok and stuff like that, it ends up yeah, I digress. Can I have a nicotine?
Yeah.
Just
That's gonna kill him. That's actually gonna.
Yeah, I don't need 6 milligrams.
you can just spit it like just if you're like, oh, this is like ridiculous.
Fair
just
enough.
spit it out.
I just want to try what it.
Yeah,
just
put it in your mouth and leave it there for a little bit.
How much is this worth?
That's 6 milligrams. What do you mean, like
How much money?
Like, how much would this be if I were to buy it?
These are okay in the States. They're like $4.
Okay.
Because they're illegal here. You have to go to like sketchy people to get them.
Okay, so a Gen
They're like
X.
$16 in
in
Canada.
in
Good.
our generation, I would be right now in an after-school special,
Right. Yeah.
and you would be like, "Come on, man, just
So
take it. It's
do you
cool.
think? Do you
It's
think?
cool?
man.
Just
And
try it."
who are you going to be? You're going to be the
I'm
hey,
I'm
don't
the
do
nerdy,
it, man.
I'm the nerdy guy.
Yeah,
who
except
says, no,
in-
man, just say no.
But instead of like an older kid coming up to you and he's like, "Hey man, I got some stuff you should try. You want to be cool?" It's like people like 20 years younger than you. They're like, "You don't you want to be cool?"
That's what be cool.
Well, I'm sold because you said it came from someone sketchy.
Put it in your lip.
Pack it like.
Can you
now.
snort
Yeah.
it? Can you snort it?
No.
Try
Probably.
it. Try it.
Okay.
You
So
can
it's
actually
in there.
definitely snort it.
You're gonna die,
snort it.
Chad.
Okay.
You're gonna
So it's kind of
You're
banal.
gonna so regret that.
It's gonna start burning to an amount, and if it like just feels like it's too much, you can just take it out.
No, I mean I used to chew tobacco, so I kind of.
It'll be like that. It'll be that kind of.
I would
burn.
say once you taste it, take it out for a bit just to make sure you're not going to get nauseous.
Oh, that's not. It's kind of like
It's a lot like dip. Like it has the same kind of like.
like that
tinge.
minty kind of. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, I'm down.
Do you know who Lil Pump is?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So I know Lil Pump got really. I think Lil Pump got famous at 18, and I was like, I think me and Lil Pump are the same age, and I was like, oh, that's so weird. Someone who is 18 is
Your age,
the forefront
right.
of culture.
Yeah.
Like this is the most famous musician right now, short of like Kanye West, like the new wave of music, or like 6ix9ine Takeshi, or like Ice Spice, all 24, 25 now. I think Ice Spice is younger. Ice Spice is like 20. So is that new? Is that like people being that young getting that famous?
No, I don't think so.
No?
I think it's always been young people getting famous like that. Yeah.
But to that extent, I mean, Tekashi 6ix9ine's a good example of like, is this literally just kind of hype?
No, I mean, I think back in music, I was like when I was 18, listening to music, it would have been like new wave. Music was really popular back then, and there was a lot of very young people
Like New
creating
Order.
that. Yeah, New Order would be a good example of that. Pet Shop Boys,
Erasure.
Okay.
Yeah, Erasure.
Okay. Take me through as a Gen X. You're a kid.
Yeah.
Well, like what are the defining elements that you think anyone in your generation would be able to relate to? Most people in your generation. Were you a latchkey kid first? of
Yeah.
all? Okay.
Yeah.
So were you a latchkey kid?
I wasn't.
Interesting. Okay.
Both my parents worked from home, so.
Woo, la di
Yeah, I
da.
know, right? When it
That's
was very
rare.
fancy,
That
it
was really
very
rare. Working, but you also had a musician dad.
That's
so,
right.
Yeah.
I came from a unit.
About 75% of my attention is now just making sure you're not going to die.
I'm feeling lightheaded.
Okay,
I
take it
can
out, take
see-
it out,
but
take
no,
it
no,
out.
I'm literally just joking about that.
Okay.
I'm totally fine.
Okay.
I was a smoker for a very long time, so I
Okay.
don't think the nicotine.
You'll be good.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I should
Okay.
be. Okay.
We've had experiences where it's been a little too much.
I'm feeling
Okay.
more focused.
Good.
You get dialed in. You get
What did I
kinda
tell you?
activated.
What did I tell you? See, he's more focused.
That's true.
Yeah.
Try it, dude. Try it, man. It's
Yes, yeah,
it's got nootropic qualities. I was like,
Increases productivity. That's all that matters now.
yeah, I was like, that's okay. This is kind of the thesis: is everyone's addicted to nicotine because we have to increase productivity because we all have to grind and
I
hustle.
think this just exists in your bubble. You think everybody's addicted to nicotine.
1 in 9 high school students are vaping with disposable vapes because they like nicotine. Those are high school students. That's illegal.
I feel like see if it was.
Do you guys have? Are the Juuls legal here?
Juuls were
Because they're so small.
no.
and the
They
kids
made
were-
they got rid of it's province to province. Like
Yeah.
they banned the fruit flavors for
Yeah,
a while.
yeah.
But like I don't know, like half my high school smoked. I'm from.
That seems so weird. That seems so odd. Because I was like, when I was that age, there was a lot of smokers, but I wouldn't imagine that today.
I'm a bad sample size. Like I just grew up so rurally. But
I smoked when I was in high school. In my high school, we actually had a smoking lounge for students. There was an area outside that was the student smoking lounge. Even though we were all underage, the school was like totally cool with that.
They used to reference it in the announcements, right? It's like,
Yeah,
if you're in the smoking
outside.
section, come on in.
Right.
Like
It's exactly
we
what
had the
we
same
did.
thing. It was literally the parking lot, but it was
just an
section.
area out there that you could go and smoke, and you could buy, because it was easy to buy cigarettes. There was like machines. You could literally go to vending machines to buy cigarettes, and so
I'll show my ignorance and say that I thought the fascination with vapes was because of marijuana. I thought that the majority of people that I saw using the vapes were using the weed
No, it's mostly
pens.
nicotine.
It's nicotine, right?
yeah.
Nicotine's still here.
Nicotine's pro-capitalist. Marijuana's anti-capitalist.
So is this in any way associated with any of the old big tobacco companies? Or have they like all moved aside and this is like a completely different market altogether?
I actually have no idea. I
The
know.
tobacco companies.
Is this like Benson and Hedges?
Yeah,
last, like
the tobacco companies just switched to like vapes and
Right.
stuff. Yeah.
Fair enough.
You guys keep talking. I'll keep.
I don't know about the
this.
nicotine. Okay, so interesting. Very very interesting.
what?
I'm noticing a pattern. Okay, you liked getting left out of the generational conversation.
Oh, yeah, kind of.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it means you don't have to fight anyone. You can keep your head down.
And I feel like that's the way I try to live my life.
Right. Yes. This is a very centrist perspective.
Because a lot of what you guys talk about is just like, I feel like it's over my head. You guys talk about political figures and things, and this is probably just me. This isn't other people and me, but I'm just like, I just want to stay out of it.
Oh yeah, no, I've heard that before. See, this is what we call a feint. It's like, oh, I'm not smart enough to engage in politics. I'm not smart enough.
No,
to
I don't
deal
think
with
I'm
it.
not smart enough. I just have no interest in it.
Interesting. So
There was a time when I did, but not anymore.
but now you're trying to stay out of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what do you think about Trump?
Well, see, I do have opinions on some things. The big picture things, obviously, because, and it's kind of like why I don't really need to consume news, because I figure if something big enough happens, I will hear about it. I'm online all the time.
How do you
You will
consume this?
have these things. It'll be something. It'll show up in my Instagram feed or something, and then I will, or just people I know will be talking about it. And so then it's like, okay, if it's big enough topic, yeah.
So why do you think people forget about Gen X?
I don't know, because the Gen X did create a lot of stuff that they're consuming, I think, like any other generation. So I'm not really sure why. I think because there's always been such a big focus put on boomers. I think the boomers put such a big focus on themselves. And I was going to tell you this earlier tonight. When I was in my early 20s, maybe late teens, the TV show was 30-something. Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
And 30-something was like the most annoying show. And I'd only seen a couple of them. Like, God, these are the most annoying, self-absorbed people ever.
What was the show? What was the premise of the show?
There was all these 30-something people and their troubles, and there was this family dramas and stuff. And these were the boomers who are the boomers today.
Yeah.
But I just remember thinking how self-absorbed they were
Self-serving.
in their own
That was it.
their own world at the time. And I remember that was kind of a defining moment for me understanding what a boomer was. They weren't called boomers back then.
Oh, interesting.
But it was just like people in their 30s were like a different beast.
How so? Because I've heard like me generation used as a same thing as the boomers.
Yeah, and I think that, in fact, I think that's what I originally remember them being called, was the me generation.
Huh. I thought millennials were the me generation or something. No one can keep this straight. So was Gen
But
X?
I also don't know if there's a whole lot of value. I know you guys talk about generations all the time, and this is like the big theme of what you talk about. But I don't know the value in that, really. I don't know if there's, because everybody wants to put these strict cutoff dates on when you're one generation and the other. And yeah, I know you can say, oh, there's a cusp between them and there's fading, but still you're lumping huge swatches of the population into like 5 different categories.
Hell yeah, we are. We're confused, Steve. We need purpose and we need labels
Right.
on things to.
So you
articulate
label
problems.
these things, but then there's the one label, And this is why I think that the whole term Gen X came about, is because it wasn't really definable. I'm pretty sure that's where the term came from.
And if it was so undefinable, everyone just forgot about it.
I think everybody said, well, we don't know what to call this.
Oh,
We'll
just
just
like
put an
X
X.
being the variable.
Right.
Okay,
I think
that
that's
makes
really
sense.
where that came from, yeah. Because it was the baby boomer generation was the
Yeah, because that's easily
that was the term.
That's easily definable as World War II
Coming back.
vets and having like, you know, my
Lots of
mom's a
kids.
boomer and she's one of 6.
Yeah.
Right? So that makes perfect sense. And then Gen X is like people. Gen X makes sense, or sorry, Gen Z makes the most sense as well, because it's like people who are born into technology.
Yeah.
Like just having like either super, super young or being born into social media, internet access. Like they don't know a time without it.
Right.
Why does that make sense?
Because that's a cutoff. That's like if you're born with
It was sort of
internet in your
a
house.
cultural change.
That's
that
what
was
makes
significant.
Generation X so unique, is we literally remember. I mean, we're often maybe even confused as the boomers, because it's like we remember what answering machines and archaic, cell phones look like. I mean, we started either web design businesses or graphic design businesses, so we kind of saw it. We were talking about this earlier, where we saw it as like the production line for our generation, quite like that early generation got that. We got this as our like, hey, it's technology, it's definitely going to be the future, and we were the first generation to be like, I think that's actually the case. But now it's so long ago that we just kind of get lumped into that. Oh, do you get mistaken as a boomer sometimes?
Sometimes, but
right?
it's also that's not really a conversation that comes up in my world. You
Yeah.
know, it's not really I think you guys talk about that a lot, and if you're in that world, but I never really considered it. I think throughout history, people have talked about, younger people. Maybe you would define a group of people as teens, but that was kind of it, really. I think this is such a modern.
right.
This is such a modern.
You're either
construct of
young
like,
or
well,
old.
you have to fit within these things, and yet I'm at the point where, like, I have friends, in all different generations, and I never really think of it in those terms, other than it's kind of interesting. Some of like culturally things that other generations are interested in. But I don't really think of it in terms of these cutoff dates.
Imagine a boomer making a boomer video essay like, it's over for boomers, and like the eyes crossed out. It's because Gen Z likes to talk about Gen Z, and they talk about Gen Z online, and then there's like Gen Z is like a kind of content that both of us make.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because there's a specific like, I mean, there's the fact that the things we produce are so dopaminergic. Because
wait, what did you say?
Dopaminergic.
Yeah, that's a
no idea
cultural
what that
term in
is.
the Gen Z world.
Yeah, you gotta
I
explain
want
it.
to take
span.
a guess at it, but could you tell me?
you guess.
It sounds like something which would involve dopamine.
Yeah.
Like just
okay.
the hit of like
Triggers
whatever.
dopamine.
Like
okay.
Yeah,
a like or a something.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's such a little attention span. The average person has such a little attention span that the stuff we make is very like flashy, in your face. Like TikTok's a great.
But do you think
example of
that's
that.
true? Do you think that's true of the average person your age?
I
Because
think
I
so.
don't think it is, because I know plenty of people your age who aren't that way.
I do as well, but there's also like, I don't know if it's a bias, like a group bias, because we talk to so many young people who are trying to be intellectuals who are very, very focused on not being that.
Right.
But there's also, it seems like I imagine this swath of young people who are just like spend all day on their phone and don't do anything, which does exist.
Yeah.
But then I don't like talk to them because they don't talk to anybody.
Right.
They don't really have social lives. It seems like this phenomenon does exist. If you look at like the amount of people like under 25 who feel lonely, and the amount of people under 25 who have depression or who have like a very small friend group. If you like track those metrics,
Right.
Shoots
One
up
of the
for young
reasons
people.
we talk about Gen Z is because we want to talk about problems specific to Gen Z, and then we'll look at trends like loneliness is increasing, or people are reporting more problems with
like
using
size
their
of
phone.
friend group, or
size of friend group going
amount
down.
of girlfriends.
Yeah,
right.
amount of partners. Yeah, it goes down.
Yeah, or like I know our generation has like the highest virginity rate.
Yeah.
And the longest time between like sexual partners.
Yeah, they're all going to us. Hell yeah, brother.
Is your generation aware of how much you're addicted to your phone?
Yeah.
We're
almost we're our awareness, I would say, is peaking to the point of
But see,
getting to problem
that's
solving.
another example of something. I don't think that's generational. I think everybody is.
And I was going to say
because I feel the same thing, and at times, and I think we're all aware of these things that are kind of eating away at our time and just like robbing us.
But here's the difference. But if you say stop using your phone, I say shut up, old man. But if he says stop using your phone, I say so true. Because when you grow up with the phone, it changes your brain. Like the iPad kids who are.
But you didn't grow up with a phone. You're too young.
I was 14.
You're too old to have grown up.
It's not as bad. But like with Gen Alpha, that's like an accentuation of our problems. Because those were the iPad kids. Yeah. So it's like, my brain was like 14 when I had the phone, and that wasn't so bad. JJ was 26 when he got his phone. 26. Yeah. His brain was fully formed. And I don't know. I feel like that was probably for the best for him.
JJ McCullough
has a fully formed brain.
Yeah. Just gotta, I don't know. I feel like I gotta say the name sometimes. It doesn't get too inside.
JJ McCullough is a part of the lore of this podcast at this point. Yeah,
just for the new listeners, JJ McCullough.
JJ McCullough,
famed Canadian.
He probably remembers
cultural critic.
Well, so JJ would remember landlines very well. He would remember having to pick up the phone and not knowing who it was that was calling, and you'd have to say hello. Oh, it's for you.
True. One thing I want to say though is you guys are exceptionally hip. Old people, and so there is a lot of sample size. The fact that we're even chatting, kind of means
you brought us into your warped little world.
Yeah, here. And you have Zoomer haircuts. I just want to point that out.
This is where we do this.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. We gotta do,
you got the Zoomer cuts going.
The low taper fade.
Yeah, the low taper fade.
That's what I searched for when I was like, low taper fade on YouTube, and
that's
I
what
learned how to do it.
What if Chad and Steve had a low taper fade?
It's because I have to show up on YouTube.com.
Is there less a shame associated with us saying that we're addicted to our phone because we remember such a substantial amount of our lives where we knew what not having a phone was like?
Yeah, I think so.
And but I also think millennials in the toughest position. I also think literally do not have, aside from like reading or like going back into history, it's like those people who get into music is like Led Zeppelin's my favorite band because whatever, without actually kind of experiencing it at that time.
I think a lot of people refuse to grow and change, and I think this would be, I see as a boomer problem, is that they reached the point where they didn't want to adopt new technology. They didn't want to get on board with things like that, whereas Xers were the ones, generally speaking now, who have created a lot of this technology that we're using
or we heard about
today. Yeah, and I think we're definitely willing to adapt to that. Sure, we remember the time when you had to pick up the phone and answer the landline, but compared to now, those days sucked. Frankly, there wasn't. I don't have this romanticized view of those times of having to talk on the phone and having somebody pick up the other line and hear, all that. It sucked. Now I've got a personal communication device.
Can I slightly disagree? Yeah. Can I vehemently
that isn't
disagree?
That's very interesting though, because I feel like our generation romanticizes the old technology because we never had to use it.
Yeah.
So like, oh, it
sucked.
But yeah, let's hear.
We were bored all the time.
I mean, the thought is literally that feeling that you get in the back of your head when your phone buzzes or when you're having a conversation with someone and they're not replying quickly enough to you or they leave you on read. There's a whole level of psychology which is now involved in communications and our feeling of like the best thing about going out when you were a kid was you went on your bike and you went out and you played with your friend, and then when you got home you check the machine and be like, oh, that person wanted to call me. And I get it's like this romanticized rose-colored glasses way of looking at it, but like versus what we have now, or like, because I just recently came from feeling like I was addicted to my phone to now having it in a much better perspective in my life and not having that feeling of just always feeling like you need to connect it with someone. And when someone reaches out to you and they get a hold of you, as in it's a buzz or it's a thing, and whether or not you get back to them, that toys with your head. Seriously. Well, I mean, at least I think.
I don't know. I think I have a pretty good relationship with my phone. I can, I think it's important for a lot. I love getting text messages and texting people and staying on top of Instagram and all of that. But at the same time, I'm pretty aware of when I can shut it down. Like for this conversation here, I'm not just like checking it. And to me, that would be an annoying thing.
That would be kind of funny if we did a podcast where all four of us had to be on our phones the whole
Just on
time.
your phone.
Okay,
all the time.
so I do see
Actually,
this.
couldn't put it
I
down.
do,
It's really good.
and I do see this sometimes when there'd be a bunch of usually younger than you guys, kids. I'm talking in their teens, will be out at a restaurant or something. They're all sitting at a table, and every one of them is on their phone. And yeah, there's a part of me that thinks that's kind of disturbing that they're not actually interacting when they're right there with the people. But maybe this is just the way they interact. I don't know.
Well, you were about to say something which I agree with a second ago of where like this specifically, like I'm gonna say like the last 2 years, especially our age group, like 20 to 25, is very aware of the issues now, and everyone wants to move past it.
Yeah.
Like I don't know anyone our age who is like on their phone or like willingly on their phone all the time. Like a lot of people make a very like big effort to stay off of it.
And especially if you're in a group situation, you mean like
Yeah.
5-6 of you at a table.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're going to put it down and just like ignore those text messages when they come in.
Yeah, I mean, I do that. I have all my notifications turned off, and I check.
Oh,
things.
so you go as far as turning off
Yeah, like I
notifications.
check things physically. Like I'll check Instagram. Like I have no DM. I have nothing turned on.
I don't have Wi-Fi at my place, and I try to leave all of my screens at the studio.
It does. His
at the end
alarm
of every
goes
night.
off,
Yeah.
and I can't turn because his phone's locked. I can't turn the alarm off.
Yeah,
So
s-
I put it under some pillows so it's muffled.
CJ found out that I had no Wi-Fi at my place last night, and he was like, "What?" He was like, "So based." And CJ's working on a project where like you just like kind of slip your phone into a like it's like furniture, but you like slip your phone in, and when you get in, and like just forget about it, and then you like actively take it out. So we're all just like basically metagaming, trying to make technology actually work for us. That seems to be a big theme of the generation, is just moving past actually being horribly addicted to it.
Yeah.
I do like your perspective though. It's very optimistic and seems very mentally healthy.
I
But
think so.
I just
yeah.
don't. I'm not there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Getting close.
Well, and I also know a lot of young people who just take like a week-long technology break.
like a break.
They just get completely unplugged.
Like a
for a
digital
week.
Sabbath.
Yeah. Yeah.
Must be nice. Must be nice to be able to do that.
No, I don't think I would be nice. I don't. To me, I really like the technology. I guess maybe I just appreciate it because I know what it was like.
Yeah,
before.
because like we don't know.
And
We
I don't-
didn't get to go landline phone
Right.
Neuralink in brain.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I got a phone super late. I was like 8. I would like my mom. I'd bike and disappear for like 8 hours and show back up at home every weekend
Right.
with my friends. No one had. Yeah, I had that for up until I was like 17. And I'm not very emblematic of Gen Z, but I know that pretty well.
Yeah. Well, actually, I think that might be a little emblematic.
How old are you?
26.
And you're
25.
okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a less optimistic view of the future of these things?
I don't think you have an optimistic view of anything.
Yeah, I'm.
I get that impression.
I'm what we call Pessimaxxed. I try to adopt frameworks and perspectives that are the most neurotic and pessimistic as possible, so that my life is as neurotic and pessimistic as possible.
Do you want to live like that?
No.
You could
But
change.
if I wanted to live like that, I wouldn't be Pessimaxxed.
You could flip it. You could say your expectations are so low that even when they're just met,
No,
You're happy.
This is you're trying to make it work. The whole point is it's not supposed to work. I'm supposed to be in pain. But yeah, my view on technology is it wants something from us, and what it wants is not aligned with human values necessarily. So we either have to make it align with our human values, which we're going to try and fail to do, and then what it actually is going to do is make us all robots, and we're all going to be robots.
Is Neuralink the next step towards this?
Yeah.
have you seen the Apple Vision Pro footage?
I've seen people making content with them. My gosh.
I'm almost sold on that. So I saw a video today, and it was just a guy walking around, and like every wall in his house was a screen. And he had it on. He was like, "Oh yeah, this is where I do my work, and this is where I do this." And he's like, "Hi, honey," and his wife has one on as well.
So
And the wife isn't real.
is this where we're?
Yeah, so it was like double E cup anime girl.
Yeah. They're like, "Hi, honey," and she's like, "As an anime model, I'm."
Oni-chan.
I don't know. My experience has always been with technology that when any new technology first comes out, there's like a whole wave of people freaking out about it, and they're seeing all of this is only going to lead to the downfall of. I don't know. Yeah. We always seem humans sort their shit out. Yeah. It always seems to be like, oh, it wasn't as bad as we all.
The Pessimaxxed take is that they were all right. they're like a little more right every time. Until we get to the end of time, where the techno-capital singularity steals all of our vril.
I see. I'm lost. When you go into this stuff, I watch your video. Like I watched your recent video, 30-minute long, basically a diatribe.
Yeah.
And I was captivated by it. I watched every moment of that. I was on the plane watching this thing. Yeah. But I only understood like half of it.
There might be like
I don't understand what he's talking about, but I like it, and I think it's interesting. But and there's a part of me that wonders: do you really understand what you're saying on that?
Yeah, I can explain.
You have a full.
So okay, at the end of time,
this is a fully fleshed out theory that you presented.
This isn't even my idea. This has been talked about by other philosophers 30, 40 years ago. Technology wants something from us, and we're feeding it our life energy through the screen. It sucks it up. And it brings it forward into time because the internet has a place without space. I'm schizophrenic. And as a place without space, it has no time. So because there's no time, all the time exists in the same sphere. At the end of time, all human sentient conscious life produces computers. And the computers get better and better. And eventually, it replaces the need for humans, just like we replaced the need for monkeys. That's why there's no monkeys anymore. And now, and eventually it leads to us all merging our consciousnesses into a big vat.
But you're just writing science fiction.
Yeah.
This is the same stuff that's been written for 50 years.
Yeah, it's science fiction. Yeah. But there's a little bit of truth in the science fiction. It's true.
Oh yeah, of course there is. Yeah. But we always but we always sort our shit out.
We do. Or we don't, and it gets worse and worse.
Famed Toronto philosopher.
You see that I have a very positive view of the future. I really do. And I think it's all going to work out. It always does.
Okay, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
What does that future look like?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. What does the future look like?
I don't know.
No.
But like, you imagine it.
I would imagine technology getting better and better, making our lives easier. And I think all our technology so far has made our lives easier. Sure, there's problems with it. And sure, we may spend too much time on the phone, but that's just an internal thing. We can get over that easily. Using the phone is just way, way better than without it. I mean, it was boring to sit around without a phone, to be waiting in a line and just doing nothing, waiting for a bus in the dark. You couldn't even read a newspaper in the dark.
I've been Optimogged. I got the Pessimaxxed got Optimog. I'm gonna pee.
Here's.
Sometimes I don't understand anything he's saying.
Do we wait until he finishes?
No, you can keep going.
Oh, we just keep going.
Yeah, this is one
awesome.
of those free-form podcasts.
Yeah.
Can you get me a drink of water? Can I get a drink of water?
Yeah, I can grab you a drink of water.
I would appreciate that. Should we just carry on the show?
Yeah, carry on. Chad, talk about if you're optimistic.
We'll carry on.
Well, actually, yeah. And I wanted to ask if you're optimistic because you feel like we're going to continue with this trajectory of bringing technology closer and closer, embedding it in our head, putting these goggles on, and that not being, to me, I believe, especially as the father of a 5-year-old, and understanding what that generation is going to be going, and like prepping that generation for like, here's what technology is. Like, we should be using it because your point is valid. Like, hey, it makes it so much easier. But we don't want to like raise that like, hey, go to your phone, because I want a kid who can start a fire with sticks or whatever, do math in their head or what that is. So it kind of conflicts with that because my future of a better connection and relationship with technology, with us humans, is us putting it into perspective, as you said, which is like, okay, we didn't have phones. Now we have phones and we're all using our phones. But then we get to the point where like we understand the value of phones and we put it into perspective. But there's nothing right now which is being talked about, which is counterbalance, which is turn it off and go. Aside from this is very kind of new content which is coming out where people are like, you got to turn your phone off. You got to like stop.
I think that's one of those
before night is like 98% of people do it, but 98% of people know that they shouldn't be doing it.
Because I think there's a spectrum here. It's not an either or situation. I think thank you.
Oh, and me too. Thank you.
I think we can exist in both worlds.
I have whiskey as well.
Yeah, I'll take some of that too.
You want some whiskey?
We'll do it after this water. It's good. Thank you.
I think both cases can exist, where we can embrace technology, we can understand the potential downfalls of technology, but at the same time, we can embrace our humanity. It's not an either-or situation. Technology doesn't have to destroy who we are, and our humanity doesn't have to rule our technology by saying you've got to turn it off for a week or you've got to turn it off for any particular time, because it's on an individual basis. However your personal relationship is with that technology, he would call it God.
But that's
it's a
what we're
very
dealing
personal.
with. We're dealing with it being
It's a
that
personal thing
where it does have an agenda. As much as you might not have to present it in the way that he does, where it's like it's out to get us.
Yeah.
You kind of do have to treat it that way, because left unchecked, we've realized that it's literally taken an entire generation to get used to what this is, to like start slowing it down. And I guess it seems to be the only logical way that you get good with it is you don't move to the Apple iThing and everything being a screen in your house.
Yeah.
You move back towards like, yes, I use my phone for getting directions and like restaurant ratings and stuff like that, but I don't literally need to have it interfering with my eyeballs and my actual connection to real life.
Steve, there's two potential futures.
Okay, here we go.
Why is your hair wet?
Because I put water on it.
You look really cool that way.
Yeah, thank you.
But you kind of always look cool. I'm always a little intimidated by you.
Oh, don't be intimidated. I'm just going to explain to you what the technology got at the end of time and why it's
Please,
stealing your
go
life
ahead.
energy.
You can put this right
So there's future compasses. These are memes that are created which predict potential futures. And there's a strain of thought that basically says it's important to imagine a potential future if you want to bring it about. It's kind of a utopian idea almost. It's like we have to be able to imagine a kind of an end goal in order to like kind of guide people towards it. And so there's like a left accelerationist future where, technology works for us. It's being controlled. It helps humanity. Maybe we all get no one really has to work, but you can work if you want to. Everyone can get their basic needs met. That's like a world where we're seizing the means of techno capital, the technology and money, combined together to help everybody. And then there's a right-wing accelerationist idea, which is, some people believe this. They want to give more power to the people who control the technology. And everyone basically just works as a serf and slaves away to serve their masters, which is kind of what we do right now with social media. We produce content for them. People produce content. They don't even get paid by social media. They just do it because they want to. And
I just want to get followers. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. They want to contribute to the cultural conversation or whatever. And in that future, we all just suck Jeff Bezos' dick. He has like a million robot dicks. And your job is you basically go and you suck the robot dick. And so there's probably some other futures in there, but both of those assume technological progress enhances, and it's kind of like an end goal. It's like what is the end goal? What's the end goal of the kind of slow, incremental, moderate? Like what happens?
Does there need to be an end goal?
No.
Do you feel like you're being controlled by technology right now? And in what way?
Well, when I start using my computer, I do stuff that I don't want to do. I do all kinds of stuff I don't want to do on my computer. I look at things I don't want to look at. I play games I don't want to play.
But why do you do that?
I don't know.
Because you're saying that's what's controlling you.
In the moment, I just do it. Like I look at my when you're scrolling.
But you're a sentient,
I
smart guy.
That's what makes it so fucked up, isn't it?
Do you have a?
But if you acknowledge this, can't you just stop and just say, okay, this is, or find some sort of tools that will help you to prevent doing that? Set a timer.
God, I hope so. I really hope so. Otherwise, this is not going to work out too well for me. I've been trying, and there's moments of success, but I would say overall it's been a catastrophic failure.
I think you need to embrace your humanity, who you are.
Do you use the logic of you have to stay connected because it helps inform your content or like helps you professionally in any way?
No, it's been nothing but bad for me and my content. What do you mean by stay? What do you mean by stay human? I totally understand. A lot of people use that as an excuse to be connected all the time. You really don't have to. You don't
because
have to
you're
use
like,
it for
I'm
social
doing.
media.
Oh, it's work.
You don't have to.
I just find
to
it's a convenient excuse that people will just be like,
No, I mean, I
that's
do
exactly
that.
why I do. Of course I do it. I would hate.
I have to
I
post on
don't wanna
TikTok
do it, but
every
I
day,
have
even
to.
though it makes me no money.
I certainly do that because it's like, well, I'm not going to give up my phone because yes, I get important messages about business and about my YouTube and I get DMs and all of this stuff. But that's not really. That would be an excuse, but I don't. I have no intention of giving up the phone anyways because I've come to terms with this part of me. And this is what I'm saying is I think as long as you can embrace your humanity, what makes you human, then all of that kind of falls by the wayside. It falls into place. That is a part of your life. That is a part of your humanity. But your humanity comes first. Who you are, what you feel, how you relate to other people is what's most important. The technology is just a means to other things, but not to your humanity. It has no say on your humanity. That will never change.
Do you have any off?
That's well said. The whole time I was just thinking about how much I want to be a robot, though. Go ahead.
Do you have any offline interests which serve the same purpose? Like, could you be like, oh, I'll go mountain climbing, I'll go for a walk, I'll go for a run, I'll go do some other thing which is
all that's
offline.
just an intermediary before I look at the screen more.
Right. It's just
if I'm going for a run, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna look at the screen so good after this run. I'm gonna look at the screen better than I've ever looked at the screen.
This is gonna give me so much energy watch so much more
Embrace
screen.
your humanity, and then you'll be comfortable looking at that screen. You'll be fine because you know this is just that's a thing. That's not me.
So it's all about your perspective, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think humans are good. I see good in all of humanity. Humans are by default a good species.
Then what about all those bullshit troll comments that we got?
That's a very small amount.
It is.
And I don't even the troll comments doesn't mean that those are bad people. They're probably not. They're probably people, if you knew them in another context, would be fine people. But there's this part of them that has a need. And so they're the ones who are needy and need fulfillment in a way that they're not getting maybe in their actual life, and so they get it here. But I think that there's other ways. If you were to meet them in real life, you might actually strike up a conversation with them. You wouldn't know that they have this troll part of them who loves leaving these weird comments on your videos. And so I think that we love to define everybody by the one thing that they do that it annoys us.
Or
but I think that there's a much bigger
or
picture.
identity label like Gen X or Gen Z.
Exactly. This is why I think that the whole generational thing is. I know it's kind of the whole basis of all of this, but I kind of also think it's bullshit.
Boomer take. Hey. No, that's true. Yeah, well said. You're very eloquent and wise.
I don't know.
We could all learn something from you, Steve.
What were you scared of when you were young? Like, what was like when you were like 25? You were like, oh, this is gonna ruin the world.
Oh, you mean what was going to? I don't remember being frightened of anything. I was very excited about technology then, because it was the first wave. I was on the internet. I was creating websites in 1995, and
you were both creating websites.
Yeah. And so, I mean, all of that stuff to me was really exciting to use computers and just to get involved in technology. I didn't have any fear of it. Sure, I knew all the science fiction stories about, the robots are going to take over, and the same things you're talking about now has been around for a long time. Mm-hmm. But over all these years, I've never seen any of that play out because it sorts its shit out, and we figure it out because we're humans. We figure it out.
I like this. This is what I noticed, the theme of all the intergenerational conversations. Like when we had JJ on, I always find it very illuminating because he always talks about how like these things have happened before.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to be said for that.
That's fucked up.
Yeah.
I hate hearing that.
Well, there's like this.
This is the only time it's happened with me, just now.
Yeah, I think that's pretty emblematic of the Gen Z perspective. Is that like we're facing existential, unprecedented problems in the last 6 years.
They're just different problems. I mean, they're similar problems, but I mean, obviously the technology is different now. I'm using Windows 3.1 in 1992 or whenever, whereas now we're talking a phone, which is totally different technology, but it's similar kind of things.
And we've seen so many like, oh, this is going to change everything. 9/11 and 2008 and like
pandemic,
a Y2K. And like we went through all these things which were like, oh my gosh, turn your computer off at midnight because planes are going to fly out of the sky. And then I guess you kind of get over it. So it's easier to look at something like TikTok and be like, yeah, you know, enjoy the run, TikTok. We have seen the other side of it.
I don't know. The older I get, the more positive view I have of the future and of humanity.
That's true. Because I think you do see it
really
before,
do.
and then you just start seeing the similarities, even though it's a completely different thing. You're like, yeah, this is the thing that's getting ramped up.
And to get back to the Gen X boomer thing, I think this might be a difference. I think boomers do have a lot of fear of technology because I think in their life, it went from basically mechanical objects, really no tech until even when computers came out, it was only a very small group of people, like in the 60s or something, and the computers would take up an entire floor of a building or something. And so it was a very abstract concept that wasn't part of a day-to-day life. And so they went through a period where if you wanted a machine, you had to build a machine to do one specific task. Whereas a computer is a machine that can do unlimited tasks. And I think that was kind of too big of a change, too fast in such a short period of time. And I think that's why you see boomers who are so fearful of the future, even though there's not a lot of future left for them.
Do you remember what your parents or older people in your life were thinking when you first kind of got into the internet, or like maybe when you first started your YouTube channel?
Yeah, they didn't understand.
No idea at all. Right?
They don't understand. My mom never understood what I did. She would always because I remember her saying, she died like 8 years ago or something, but I remember her when I was doing YouTube back in like 2010, 2011, and her whole thought was, well, because I was doing woodworking videos, and I'm like, well, no, I'm making videos how I make things. And even today, a lot of people don't understand how you can make money on YouTube, you know, but she was always had this idea. It was like, well, are you going to open a store then and sell stuff? She couldn't grasp that this would be something that only exists in a virtual space. You know, that was not a concept. So she really had it in mind. It was all going to be a brick and mortar kind of thing. That was my goal eventually, would be to like sell furniture in a store.
Yeah.
So I think that was a huge hurdle for people of that generation to get over. And I think they're still kind of dealing with that.
Well, they were used to like celebrity being someone who you would see like on a stage or on a movie screen or something like that. And then all of a sudden it's like, what? It's just this thing. And you talk about cleaning, or you talk about woodworking, and you have these people like, what are you selling? My mom has still to this day, she understands it. She's proud and all of the rest. But to your point, I don't think she fully understands how you actually make money off of giving free information. She's like, well, why don't you?
But to be fair, there's a lot of people of all ages who don't really understand how people make money on YouTube.
It's true.
You know,
I get calls from my mom on a fairly regular basis. Ask, is everything okay? Are you guys making money over there? Because you give it all away for free.
Yeah.
Mom.
That's fun.
Bless her.
My grandfather just thinks I'm like trying to be a professor. Every time I see him, he's like, "So when you're gonna go to your master's and become a professor next?" And this is like practice, and I'm like, "No, it's like." It's probably I probably have more influence than professors.
You have more cultural capital than
how old is your grandfather?
He is 89.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We do have our degrees in the studio here, and we crossed off what we actually studied and wrote. Like, you know, instead of like journalism, I have like Sigma studies, and instead of fine art, you have like grinding and capital accumulation.
Yeah.
You've got a bite taken out of yours.
I have a bite taken out of mine because I ate it. I went back to Carleton, which is where I got my degree, and I did a live show there in front of a bunch of students, and I thought it would be a fun act of nihilism to eat my degree.
Have you ever had to show your degree as some form of authentic?
Never.
No.
Because I've never used it.
Yeah.
Do you regret having gone through that whole process?
No. I could have done anything.
Because neither one of us have.
Yeah.
We're nothing. We don't have degrees.
What would you say to someone thinking about possibly going to school to get a degree or pursuing something that they want to do?
Yeah, I have no opinion about this, really. I mean,
go for STEM. That's my opinion. After like getting a fine arts degree.
Oh, I've got opinions on STEM.
Well, go be a doctor. Go do something where going to university is gonna further your chance of It's going to further your knowledge of the thing you want to study. I just feel like fine art, journalism, all those things just seem irrelevant now. And there's so many degrees, like university means it's a profit model, right? There's so many, you can get a degree in entrepreneurship now. Like you can get a 4-year degree in entrepreneurship, which is like the opposite of what being an entrepreneur. Yeah, but you can go, like, if you feel insecure enough on your own, it's like adult daycare. You can go hang out until, you can put your life on pause until you're 22, which is what I feel like I was like a late bloomer compared to people I know who like just seem to already at this age have, you know, like huge incomes and like have their career readily established. Like, I feel like I just like put my life on pause. I just was a teenager until I was 22. Yeah. Because I was drinking and going to university parties and like half-assing my way through a fine arts degree.
Yeah.
So that's what you have, fine arts degree.
Yeah. Which I'm not going to do anything with. No. Or like I know a lot about like theory, which I bring up in my videos, but that's it, really. I got like a cool perspective on culture, but...
Do you find it hard to tell people what you do? Like, what's your elevator pitch when someone's like, "Hey, what do you do?"
I just say bartend, and then
he has a day job.
Yeah, bartend / YouTuber.
We call it fake job here.
I know so few people anymore because that have 9 to 5s. Yeah, because everybody I know is in the YouTube online space.
Yeah, no, he still got it. Yeah, still got the real fake job.
Someone else owns my time.
The job.
I've figured out what my answer is. It's actually, if someone asks me what to do with a degree, I would say,
go to the bathroom.
Get whatever degree you want. But like the whole time you should talk about eating it. Be like, count. As soon as like, like, you know, you're with your friends, you're studying, like it's all gonna be worth it. And like, for what? When I eat this degree publicly in front of everybody, and you know, like get your fine art degree or whatever.
Well, that should be like part of your valedictorian speech or something.
Yeah, like
eat your degree.
Yeah, like you should try to be valedictorian and then eat your degree in front of everybody.
It at least gives some function to the degree.
Yes,
it would be a great piece.
You would be remembered forever.
Do you know what you would do if you weren't doing this right
now? I would be working at a pretty terrible job with my journalism degree. I was about to get a job at this place, which was in Ottawa, which was getting money from the government. And as soon as that happened, I made like $60 on YouTube for the first time in a day. And I was like, you know what, I can do this. And then I just did that. But it was close. It was close. I actually emailed them. I was like, can I come in 4 days a week instead of 5 so I can work one day on YouTube? And they're like, no. And I was like, all right, I guess I do YouTube then. That was a big decision. But yeah.
I love finding out that there's like either a number or there was a certain day where something happened that was the catalyst for like, I can extrapolate this and I can do that. I love how you said that. I can do this again every day, and $60 a day would.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's how they get you.
That's how they get.
It seems like everybody now, when they have a YouTube channel, they have those set days. There's all these like announcement videos of like, I am quitting my day job today. I'm going full time.
I have 17,000 subscribers. I just got my paycheck.
That's what kills me.
$134
really small channels. I'm like, Jesus, how are you doing this?
Yeah. It's time to quit my job as a lawyer.
I'm like, you're married to somebody who's making a lot of money, aren't you?
I'm gonna do a video where I've decided to go get a government job.
I like that.
Yeah.
Just do both. Double your income.
You don't in Ottawa, Ontario. You could work like a couple hours a day and get paid $8.
Could you create content while you're there?
Oh yeah, easy because you work from home. Yeah, I know. I have friends that don't do any work and.
Yeah, see, my income was I had a nice thing because it just like faded into my one job into the YouTube thing, and they just got to a point where YouTube was making more money, and so I thought, okay.
What was the number for you?
The number of what?
Like he was kind of like, yeah, $60 was on that day. I remember it being like it was like $100 a day. It was like, wow, it's $100 every day. And
you mean from YouTube?
Yeah. What was?
I don't know if I had a number. I to me it was like, because I had a graphic design firm, and so I was doing graphic design business. That business was starting to slow down due to the recession, 2008, 2009, and it was at the same time I was starting my YouTube channel. And then YouTube like partner program and monetization came in, and then at the time it was like. But that's the way to start a YouTube channel, is start it in 2008.
And buy a house as well.
Yeah, exactly. Right, yeah, 2009.
Buy some Bitcoin.
I bought a house in 2009. Yeah, buy some Bitcoin.
Yeah, because you guys are so old that when
I don't think so.
When you started on YouTube,
that's a social construct.
You were like the first people doing like a woodworking and cleaning.
Yeah, I was the second woodworking channel on YouTube, and it was like diametrically opposed.
Who was first?
Mark Spagnuolo, Wood Whisperer.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And so he had like all of the high-end tools and the whole fancy shops and everything. And so my whole pitch was I'm going to be just the total opposite of that. I'm going to be like in a garage just making simple things with tools that like anybody can afford, power tools. And that's still my same
Was there ever
mission.
a time that you deviated from that? Was there ever,
No.
like, even 2017, 2018, the years where, like, everything, and you're like, I'm going to do... Well, actually,
No.
you did a secondary channel, loosely. You tried to do some...
Well, that was just more like personal stuff I was putting on there. I was doing like vlogs on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was kind of fun.
I think that's a really interesting shift from like early YouTube. You're the second woodworking channel, right? And now it's like you'll find people on TikTok who are like, I'm the plus-sized adult Disney goer TikToker. Like the niche gets
Super niche.
Yeah, it gets so much more.
Niche.
There's now like cocaine TikTokers. Like it just it's like it's gone the realm of
It's
just like
people who do cocaine, and then they've...
yeah, they're like like cocaine influencers. And they like their life revolves around doing coke at parties, but they're like just completely self-aware. There's like slot machine. I watch a guy, Vegas Matt, who just is addicted to gambling. Fully, and there's like a video of him like missing his flight. His family's going to Disneyland, and he's at the slot machine in the airport, missing his flight. His wife is yelling at him as he's playing the slot machine.
Well,
500,000 views. He's like 600,000 subscribers, like completely established.
that's because people are watching that because it's a train wreck.
What?
It's a train wreck. People are watching it for that reason. It's like
Yeah.
it's like
Eugenia Cooney.
Nikocado Avocado.
Yeah, that's
people are
probably-
watching this stuff because he's so over the top, and you're just like, I cannot believe I'm watching this thing,
Yeah, that's
but I
probably a
can't
better
turn my eyes
example of
away.
it being more train wreck than niche. Do you guys notice like stuff that's really niche that's like kind of in your field?
Oh,
but it's
yeah.
gotten so niche.
Yeah.
Like what?
Well, the first thing was, especially in woodworking, because there's like, okay, here's the breakdown. There's like the maker community, which is very large, and that encompasses anybody making anything. It even kind of brings art into it to some extent. And that could be metalworking or I don't know, even auto repair, these kind of things. And then it gets down into like, then there is woodworking. Then there's types of woodworking. There's like people who only use hand tools, saws and things. And now the trend is like people who are using like epoxy resins, instead of wood or
You epoxy tuber?
there is. And then there's like one guy who's like huge. I mean, people love to watch these videos. But that's just something also that is a trend, and I don't think it's going to be very sustainable for any length of time. I've actually had a conversation with him about that, and he's like, "Yeah, I know, it's going to go away."
Epoxy YouTuber.
What about you,
Epoxy.
Chad?
Kind of the same thing. Like we did kind of like the first clean with me video. So we started our channel because we have a cleaning company here in Toronto. And we were like, oh, it was early days of YouTube, and people were posting videos about like how to change a tire and stuff like that. And we're like, we should post videos on how to clean stuff. And then maybe some of the people that watch those videos will be from Toronto and need a cleaning service. And then they'll come and do the cleaning service. But we put those videos up, and then within like the first 20 videos, we realized that we were producing the only videos on the platform like how to clean your toilet. And it sounds dumb, it sounds whatever, but like we got this kind of
It's searchable.
And that was the key. It's the epitome of evergreen content. And so we continued doing that for a long period of time, and then that style of clean with me video, so basically just setting up a camera on a tripod, filming yourself cleaning, and then just do some voiceover stuff on it, that became kind of I'm gonna take this out now.
Yeah, they die after.
Oh, are you still
It's
eating? You
dead.
still eating?
Yeah,
that?
that's dead.
I'm gonna put it in a Kleenex because that's what Gen Xers do. I'm
So
gonna put it in my
classic Gen X
pocket
manners.
because I'm going to take it home and I'll dispose
Puts it
of
in his
it.
pocket.
And hopefully my kid will
How
get a
Gen
hold of
Y
it.
spits out is in. How Gen Z spits out is in. How Gen Alpha spits out is in.
Once again, you left off Gen X.
Oh,
You
wait,
left
I
us out
touched
of
my
that.
eyes.
Yeah.
Is that a bad thing?
You're
Is
probably-
nicotine?
You're probably fine.
Oh, okay.
You're gonna go blind.
Well, actually, I included Gen X in that one because Gen X puts it in a Kleenex, obviously. That was...
Oh, right.
And
then
then rolls it up and
prerequisite.
puts it in their pocket and drives
Yeah.
it home.
Oh, well, yeah, of course.
Anyways, so the clean with me style videos kind of became a thing. There was a bunch of channels that literally just kind of started up and doing that because it was very low barrier of entry to like get views, and that kind of became a style of video which is still incredibly popular to this day. But through it all, quite like Steve, where we didn't kind of get distracted by a lot of the alternative stuff that we could have been doing at the same time. We kept doubling down on someone needing to clean their toilet or someone wanting to actually learn how to clean kind of whatever it may be. So we just stick with that. And we are still, to this day, the only channel on the platform actually doing that. So, and quite like you, are literally the only channel on the platform doing woodworking, which is specifically dedicated. And
well, it's I have niched down to really, it's the same niche I've always been in, is
it's in the name.
Woodworking for beginners. Yeah, woodworking for beginners. The whole concept is like anybody can do this. And yeah, creating, over the last year, I've been doubling down on actually making projects rather than saying, here's the 10 worst tools I bought on Amazon. And those kind of things are like super popular right now. I mean, people just love that. But there's no legs to that. It's not going to last, especially when you're talking about tools, which every 6 months there's a new laser that comes out on that miter saw, and it's like, oh, this is a new fun thing you got to have, and it's all junk. I've got the same tools I've been using for years. They're fine.
You can do it. You can experiment with new things, but like think about what's next. Like right now, a lot of people are stuck in like just doing listicles or just doing the same type of video. So yeah.
Do you think? Explain the utility of generations. Why do you think it's useful to refer to things as generations as opposed to believing the generations aren't kind of nonsense?
Yeah, I would like to know.
Because you make a lot of Gen Z content.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, yeah. What does that even mean? Gen Z content? Is that just because that's the demographic? Only people are going to be watching that mostly.
I think Gen Z has, I don't want to say like a unique struggle, but I think things are so
our struggle.
The struggle is real.
My zuggle.
I just think there's so many unique issues to Gen Z of just like basic, like how am I going to afford to have a child? That seems like a privilege, right? It's like a luxury to have children, or
$1 million
like
a year, then we get to reproduce, buddy. You and me.
Yeah, exactly. Or buying a home, like even buying a home. I was looking at houses in like rural Nova Scotia. They're like $500,000, which is a Canadian problem, but there's so many just unique like issues with being Gen Z that to me seem unique. I want to bring up with people, it seems like there's like a cycle of things that happen, but I think Gen Z is easily definable. I think there's probably like we were talking about before, there's a few definable generations.
Yeah.
Like there's like things that happen, like the baby boomers are a specific event.
Right.
And then Gen Z is a specific, like we are born into social media. I think probably millennial and Gen X are less descriptive. Millennials are annoying,
it used to be like the we'll get to that. It used to be like the millennials were like these are the generation. This is the tech generation. It's like, oh no, Gen Z is the tech, and now it's like, oh, Gen Alpha is really the tech generation.
Yeah. But isn't that where the term millennial came from? Is they were like coming of age
in
at
the millennium.
Yeah. And so they were the ones that
we're called
fully
Gen
embracing.
Z just because we're after Gen Y, right?
But what's Gen Y?
Millennial, Gen Y.
Because Gen X,
and
then Gen Y, and then Gen Z. And then we ran out of letters, and now we're at A again.
Alpha.
Yeah.
Greek alphabet.
Gen Alpha. So I want you guys to review the generations for me. Do like a tier list. You're familiar with these tier lists.
Sure.
Do you know like start with like GI and silent?
Okay, so silent generation. What is that? That's like before the boomers.
That's
before
the war generation.
Yeah, and
right?
it's also fun fact.
That would be like my grandfather.
It's actually after Greatest Generation. Is Silent Generation. Greatest Generation fought in the war. Silent Generation, we forgot about them. They were
Greatest Generation was World War I vets.
I
Silent Generation is like World War II.
Why
vets.
are they called silent?
We forgot about them. They didn't talk much. They were all shell shocked.
They didn't say much.
They got too much trauma from the war, and they're like.
I mean, doesn't that actually kind of embody that?
Kind of
I remember
tracks,
that about my
tracks.
grandparents.
Yeah, my
just
grandfather
like, you
would have
shut
been
up. You didn't say anything. You minded your business. And
Okay, yeah. Start with silent generation.
Okay, silent generation.
And
fun fact: Biden and Trump are both silent generation.
Oh, they're not even boomers.
Yeah, and I like when we complain about boomers, they're even older than boomers.
Really?
And they're called the silent generation. They keep yapping at each other.
There's nothing silent about these two.
Biden's getting pretty quiet nowadays.
Yeah,
he's pretty. You ever seen Trump is like demanding a debate with him?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was like, he's not debating Nikki Haley or anybody. He just wants to debate Biden because he knows he'll
Right.
just goodbye. It's like elder abuse. Like I don't have a strong stance on Biden as like a political figure. It's like he's literally has dementia. It's you can't deny it. It's sad.
Okay. Generations.
Okay, so I can't do a tier list of generations. I don't really
because you reject the premise.
Yeah, it's okay.
I do kind of reject the premise because I can't categorize them. It depends upon what specifically you want to talk about in those generations.
It's literally all vibe.
Yeah, just it literally.
So it's you don't speak from here. Speak from here.
A
okay,
through
so
E?
like
A through A.
I would say most of my, again, this isn't putting a tier list on it, but most of the people I know are either and are friends with are either millennials or Gen Z.
Huh.
I have very few Gen X friends.
So you are just exceptionally hip.
Well, no, I don't think that. I don't. Well,
that's you have to
okay. I'll accept it.
Yeah.
I'll accept it.
I'm gonna put them at B.
Wait, who's it? B.
B.
Who?
The silent generation.
Oh,
Okay,
oh,
so
we're back
silent
to
generation
silent.
is B. Okay, keep going. Boomers.
E.
E.
Oh.
Okay, boomers.
Yeah.
E tier. Okay,
I
next.
guess.
X. A.
X is A. Yeah,
No,
that's
that's
fair.
S tier.
That's
S
where
tier.
that's you.
Or
so.
S tier. Yeah.
S tier. Okay.
Actually, and I know that sounds really self-serving, but it is more so. I consider
We're
it the
the
bridge
coolest.
generation.
We're the coolest.
I don't
It is
trust
up
a
to
generation
us.
that doesn't put themselves in S tier.
There you go.
You're selling yourselves out.
Yeah, you need to be confident.
You're being a pick me
All
for the
right,
generation.
I'm gonna play along with this too.
Okay,
I'm
so
gonna-
silent
I'm gonna say-
generation.
See, now we know it's fun now. Isn't it?
Okay.
Because you've seen
I'm
someone
gonna
else's
say
ratings.
I'm gonna put Zoomers also at, and this isn't just to suck up to you guys. I'm gonna put you guys at S tier.
Okay, Zoomers,
Okay, Zoomers and
Gen X.
and Gen X.
Okay.
I'm gonna put millennials on A.
B.
Okay.
A. Sorry.
But
yeah,
see, in my tier list, nothing really goes below a B. It's like my movie rating.
Right. Yeah.
system.
You give everything like at least it's like 6 stars means it was so bad you didn't finish it.
I wouldn't. My movie rating system goes from 6 to 10. So I've seen over 2,000 movies in the past 8 years, and so I never rate anything lower than a 6.
You must have seen a movie that's a 2.
No, that's a 6. If it's a movie, and this is a rare event, a movie that I just lose interest in, like I cannot watch this any longer, that's a 6. 7 is almost all movies. Like 85% of the movies I watch are 7s, and I rate it a 7.
I feel like
It means it's one thing I would watch it and I had a good time, but I'll never remember the movie. I'll record it. I'll record it on my IMDb so I remember it, and I have all these lists for there. But then I'll go back and I'll be like, I have no idea what that movie was about. But at the time, I enjoyed it very much, so that's a 7.
This philosophy is actually, I feel, consistent with everything else we were talking about, like with the optimism for the future and stuff. I don't know how, but there's definitely a
Well, no,
connection
it's because I believe that anybody who creates something has put in the effort for it deserves that
6?
they deserve enough recognition beyond a 0 or 1. I think that's just petty and hateful because the amount of work and the amount of people it takes to actually create a movie.
Okay, even if I agree with you that 0, 1, petty or hateful, what about 2, 3?
No, they
4?
don't exist.
That's why
5?
I said 2, right?
No, they don't
'Cause
exist.
You've seen it too.
You start at 6 and you go to 10.
You know what?
10 is top tier. I mean, 10
Transformers is a 2. Do you know why? Because I understand what your logic is, where you are literally looking at some, Joel Haver type character, like somebody who's like poring over a script.
Joel Haver, friend of the studio, gonna come by.
I hope so.
Has to come
I would
by.
love to meet Joel. I love his film.
DM Joel Haver right now. Say come to the studio. Don't say anything besides that.
But what was I going to say about it? But I think in your head, that's who you're giving a 6 to. And the reason why I bring Transformers up is because that's some big board, and they're just like, hey, actually not even Transformers 7, whatever. One of the random Transformers that came
I
after
haven't seen it.
and was literally only produced to extract money out of people's pockets. Like there's no thought behind it.
Okay.
There's no story. It is literally just big Hollywood pumping out another bland whatever. Those are 2s.
But
and
no,
3s
I
and 4s.
guarantee the people who worked on that movie were passionate about what they were doing. Nobody goes into making a movie. Nobody takes on a career as a cinematographer, director of photography, a best boy, any of these positions without really thoroughly in being passionate about that job. And so I think you're right. These are cash grabs that Hollywood studios are, and this is why I'm not interested in Hollywood movies in general, but those are cash grabs, but they're still made by individual people who love what they do. And there's that effort needs, at least in my mind, acknowledgement. And that's why my acknowledgement starts at 6, because I don't think those other ones are. And I'm just trying to skew the numbers a little bit on IMDb.
Okay, we should get back to the
tier list.
here.
Tier list.
I think we did them all, didn't we? What did
No.
we miss?
You were doing okay. So Gen X and Gen Z are
Gen Z,
S tier.
yeah.
Millennials are A. Where are the Boomers?
Oh, I would also put them pretty low. So I'm gonna put them at a B.
Okay.
Wow,
B.
which is like an E on most people.
That's my 6.
Right. Yeah, that's your
That's
6.
my 6.
Okay, so
I would never put them any lower than that, because those are my parents.
Okay, let's hear yours.
I'd say the same. I think yeah, Gen X, Gen Z, top tier.
Mm-hmm.
Put millennials really low.
But didn't millennials kind of get a reputation for just kind of being annoying?
Yeah, that's the issue with them.
Right.
But isn't that wasn't that the don't we now unfairly or see that was kind of unfair?
Yeah.
Like, it's almost cliche now to be like, well, that's almost why.
Well, you're coming at this from the older perspective. He's coming at this from the younger perspective.
I would
Yeah,
have.
you're right.
interesting.
It's like
I
the
would've-
boomers thinking these damn millennials.
Yeah,
and
I would
you're
have flipped
the other.
around. I was like anti that, and then I was like, no, millennials have like a weird, childness to them.
Mm-hmm.
They're very childish.
Right.
There's right now. There's a 38-year-old man who just moved to Bushwick, Brooklyn, looking out his window, wondering what he's gonna be when he grows up.
That's what you mean by childish, right? I wanted to define what you mean by child. You mean just
Yeah, just there's
no drive, no real.
Yeah, there's no stages in life. There's no responsibility or a sense of purpose. It's just the whole my life is just wanderlust of experiencing things, and it never changes. I'm just 18 forever.
But that's just a stereotype. You know that, right?
I see it though.
But stereotypes.
But don't you know
exist for a
people?
reason.
Don't you know millennials who have just got it together? I do.
I
know plenty of millennials who are like, "Damn, I wish I was half as put together as you are."
Who can you name some of them?
No.
Okay.
I feel like there's a confirmation bias.
Nobody
right?
would
If
know.
I run into 30-somethings who just.
Do you know Jerry?
Bob. Just random names.
Remember, I just used to party with a lot of 30-somethings who would show up to my parties, and I'd be like, "Fuck, you're I don't want to be you. You're it's you were put here to make me scared."
Was it because it's the same thing that you were saying about the 30-something show? Just because
Maybe.
that age group is so fucking annoying at whatever generation they are when you're in your 30s?
I think anybody is in their 30s. It's a
You think you know
that's a
so
really
much,
transitional decade when you're in your 30s, because it is. I think that you really, when you're in your 20s, you're very much exploring life, and you're getting to know who you are, and your brain is still kind of developing in your early 20s, and so then you're finding all this new stuff, and in the 30s you just kind of hit this plateau where you start treading water, and then once you hit 40 all of a sudden becomes an age where all of a sudden you start to rediscover who you are, and from there I think it just continues. I'm still discovering who I am.
Is it true that each decade just becomes better? Because in my 40s,
I
I'm
think
like,
so.
40s are way better than
I
30s,
do.
and it's actually giving
I
me
do.
some optimism for 50s.
Yeah, I would never want to go back to being in my 20s.
I feel the same
Again,
way.
unless I had the
Here's one of the questions I had for getting older. Did you feel like you were more neurotic when you were younger, or did it not change at all?
I would be crazy neurotic if I was young now.
I think I'm more neurotic now.
You're way more now. I didn't even know you when you were young.
I think I've got more internalized neuroses than I did, but I can deal with it.
So you would be neurotic if you were young now.
Yeah,
Makes a lot of sense why a lot of young people are so neurotic.
I think so. I think that's why I have so much space for millennials and everybody who because to your point of being childish, it's you knew nothing else. How are you supposed to advocate and stand out and stand up for yourself when you literally are the generation which feels seemingly like everything is against you.
Yeah.
And it's like they had such heat for such a long period of time, the millennial generation. And
Yeah.
I think that's like, and I get it. They're going to move into their 40s, and then it'll be the next generation, which is that problem generation. So that's, I guess, what I was getting at. The problem is people in their 30s.
I don't know.
It's the biggest problem.
I don't know.
I see our
I'm
generation.
just having a hard time with this argument, this whole thing, because I think I see people as individuals, and I think every individual is going to be different.
Yeah. I do get the argument that millennials were infantilized, and then you just kind of become the prophecy, or like some people do. I see with Gen Z, like the split down the middle. I know so many. I don't know anyone who's like in between. Everyone I know my age is either like pathetic or works 80 hours a week. There's no in between. I don't know anyone who has like a balance in life.
Do you feel the same way?
Frame the question again.
Like everyone around you is just, how did you?
Either an extreme, like you don't know
workaholic, totally,
like you just feel so separate from everybody else who's kind of with like your contemporary, like
no one's balanced. No one's like no one has a healthy balance. Just feels really like everyone's like dialed in, atomized, working, or like literally wastes every second of their day.
Yeah, I have a lot of extreme examples, but I don't know.
But that's like everyone I know, though. It's the same. I don't really know anyone who's just kind of like.
But that's just your group. How many people do you know? I mean, you, when you talk about the millions of people your age.
I know a lot of people. I know one woman who made a bunch of money in crypto and moved off grid, and she's really happy. Mm-hmm. But that's also an extreme, though. Mm-hmm. It's not like
that's pretty extreme. Yeah.
Do you know a lot of people who made a lot of money off of crypto?
I know. She's the only one I know.
Okay, this is going to be a little old man thing here, and maybe you'll agree with this. I think like it was a large group of people who dipped off of the grid, made a bunch of money, and are now just like living a life of Riley off of crypto, correct?
Yeah. I think that GameStop, like weird stock things, that's a phenomenon. I mean, that's like there's some cyclical examples of that, and like when societies kind of reach their tipping point into the next epoch, is there's get-rich-quick schemes. That happened a lot before.
Yeah, a lot of that happened with the early day trading, because once you could trade stocks online, that was huge, and then people started just day trading and dipping in and out. Because before then, you had to actually go to a stockbroker, open up an account in a physical location, and then once you had that account, you'd have to like call on the phone. Hey, can you buy so many shares?
You had to call.
You had to call them. Yeah.
Buy, sell.
And so that changed everything. That was probably a big tipping point there.
I'd fucking blow my brains out. I've seen those videos of people with like 8 phones in their ears.
Yeah.
Like in Wall Street,
And like 9 CRT monitors in front of them.
Just screaming with like holding pieces of paper.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Do you feel the same way for your contemporaries?
What do you mean?
Like people who are your friend group or the people who are your age, do you feel the same way where you are slightly disconnected from the generation?
I feel disconnected from most people my age, yeah.
So you find, and we've talked about this, that you connect with millennials or younger people more simply.
Well, just because I think I have more in common. And I think a lot of that has to do more with being on YouTube a lot too. Because there's not a lot of people my age and most of my friend base is from YouTube and social media, you know. And so these are the people I know, you guys, and I have no problems. For me, it's very easy to relate to Gen Z and millennials. In fact, I kind of have a harder time relating to people my age because they don't get a lot of my world. So maybe I am kind of an outlier in that, I guess.
Do you see like any generational unity with people your age? Like you?
No, the only generational unity I think, and you'll probably agree with this, on Gen X is just cultural music, movies, just
so all the memes you see on
popular
TikTok,
culture.
Like, you were born in the 90s.
Yeah. Hey, do you remember
that thing? But it always is like, oh, it's this type of puffer jacket.
It is. It's never about like. Politics or
like a Berlin Wall falling or something.
I'm totally cool with that. I'm like, it's fun to look at those kind of things and remember.
I'm a big believer in transgenerationalism. If someone wants to identify as Gen X, they should be able to. But if someone's watching this and they want to figure out how to identify it as Gen X, what should they watch? What should they listen to? How should they act?
I would say, I know like what, about 5-6 years ago, probably a little bit longer. It was the 80s was like the really big retro thing. I think now it's really 90s is kind of the retro nostalgic thing. But for Gen X, I would say, yeah, definitely listen to 80s, 90s music, movies.
It's gone full like early 2000s now. That's the new.
And now it's, yeah, definitely.
Like the low-rise jeans. But it's like weird seeing things at the age now where like seeing things I grew up with go full circle where it's like 16-year-olds are into it.
Oh yeah, yeah. And so that's
weird
another
feeling.
thing where younger people discover kind of that older, and then you hear that whole thing is, I feel like I was born in the wrong time period or something.
Like cargo pants.
Yeah.
I own a pair of cargo. I was wearing them today.
Okay, here's my generational tier list.
Okay, good.
All right, Gen Z, Z tier.
Wow.
There is no Z tier.
No, there is now.
There is now.
All right.
Gen X, X tier.
Oh, I love this.
Gen Y, Z tier.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Millennials, or it's the same thing. Boomers, Z tier. Silent generation, Z tier. Greatest generation, A tier, because they're dead.
Yeah.
Generation Alpha, Z tier, because they're alive. Generation Beta, A tier, because they're not alive yet. This hidden joke of this one is life is bad.
Still, you haven't mentioned Gen X.
Yeah, well, actually, no, I put you in Gen X. I put you in X tier.
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah.
See, I miss my generation too.
Yeah,
I just totally gloss over it.
We've blanked
I'm hearing all I hear is just Zoomers and Boomers.
Zoomers and Boomers and Gloomers.
Are we going to edit in some graphics so we can kind
Yeah.
of see all of that?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. We'll have our team on that.
Yeah. Well, you guys are.
we do it. We a big team.
Yeah.
You guys make millions off this podcast. So.
Yeah,
We've actually made about $130.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hell yeah,
That's
man.
a great episode. It's more than we've made from our podcast.
Are you reinvesting it, or are you just blowing it off?
We're probably
it's
negative.
in my AdSense right now.
Yeah, we bought these new cables today for you guys, so I think
Did you
we're
really?
probably in
These
the
are
red.
new XLR cables?
Yeah.
I feel so special.
Our last podcast had some crackling in it, so we needed.
This
new
is actually a
cables.
really nice setup, I will say.
Brogan was
Yeah.
Brogan was trying to figure out the problem, so he was going through all of the cables, trying to figure out if it was like a mic problem or a cable problem. And he hates technology when it's not working for him. And basically, he's like, "Oh fuck!" And he found the cable that wasn't working. He's like, "This one!" And he threw it across the room. And he's like, "Good, good," because like we don't have to replace the mic. And then he went to the next one. He's like, "This one too!" And he flung it across the room. It's great to see.
Yeah. I think defining Gen X as like a pop culture references makes the most sense to me in my head. Now that I'm thinking about it, after we've talked about this,
I would agree. Yeah.
Well, if I think about like boomers having a unified culture, right? There's a unity to boomer culture, but then Gen X is like punk, goth, like new wave, the beginning of like house music, right? So there's like
Grunge.
It's not so fractured that, because I feel like Gen Z is so fractured that there's people who like, we're so atomized with what we take in. There's people who like don't know anything that's going on. There's people my age who like don't know any pop music, and there's people who love pop music who don't have like any context of the intellectual world. Like it's so atomized. But then Gen X is like, okay, there's like 10 things.
Well, see, this is one of the things that I'm like, I might be an outlier in this, but like things like music, I think right now is some of the best music ever made is right now. And like everything I'm listening to, because I've already heard all the stuff from when I was 18 and 19 so many times, I'm not really into that so much. But I think that the people like your age are creating some of the best music out. Those are the concerts I see. This is the music I listen to on Spotify. And even movies that I like are within the past decade, I think are some of the best horror movies in the past decade.
So to answer your question about being Gen X, was Gen X the first generation to really start reaching out for more outside of the boundaries of?
Well,
kind of what
I
was
don't know
handed
if
to
it's
them?
everybody, because it's just my experience. It could just be my experience. I don't know.
Because I feel the same way.
Yeah.
That's where punk came from. That's where grunge came from. It was, I mean, I guess you could say the same thing in the 70s. But
What's your definition of every, like, just vibe it out, like from GI to silent to boomer, like if I want to become greatest generation,
Okay.
what would I do?
What would you do to become the greatest generation?
Yeah, like to identify it as it, to like spiritually adopt it.
I think like greatest generation, from what I understand.
Mm-hmm.
Just like was normal, just did normal things.
Okay.
I think Silent was traumatized. That's what I think in my head, in my rudimentary understanding of like 50s culture, where it's like, you know, make America great again, cookie cutter houses. It's just traumatized men. Like, this is what's right. We're doing this. Don't move.
Who said that?
Shut the fuck up. Communist.
Yeah.
Stand straight.
Yeah, everything needed to be in place.
Communist.
Yeah.
You're basing that on pop culture, movies,
Yeah.
TV.
That's where it's all. Yeah. All the stereotypes.
Right.
All these generations are just based off stereotypes.
You're right.
Yeah.
Now, that's exactly what I've been saying.
Yeah.
And the longer it goes,
And that's a good thing.
well, the longer it goes on, the more it's just based on stereotypes, right? Like, there's gonna be a point where like boomers are just the idea of boomers could be summed up in like 3 sentences because they'll all be dead, and like our only recollection of them is through word, right? No one's gonna be like, oh, the boomers, well, they were nuanced in this sense, It's
Yeah.
just like
it's just like
it's
that's
gonna,
it.
Yeah.
So wait, yeah. So boomer. What am I
Boomer.
doing to be a boomer?
What does it mean to be
Trans boomer. Yeah.
Trans
I'm
boomer?
trans boomer. So
Oh god, trans boomer. Fucking. Just everything's built for you. I don't know.
wow, it's all for me. This is for me, and that's for me.
Well, I see that meme a lot of like the silent greatest generations like I can't wait to build a better life for my family, and then silent generations like I can't wait to build a better life for my family. Then boomers are like go fuck yourselves. This is all for me, and then kind of like take everything.
And the dog generation's like, woof, woof.
The dog generation. What do you mean?
The dog generation. You haven't heard of that?
Oh yeah, of course.
There's a bunch of dogs running around.
We're getting at something here because the generational.
You are so weird.
It's wonderful.
The generational.
This is why I
conversation
like
is
you
kind of
guys. This is why I
falling
like
apart.
Gen Z.
The more of the fact we've talked about it for like an hour and a half, we're at the point where it's like we've tapped its potential.
No, I think you're onto something here. I think you're very good at eking out the vibes of certain groups. Like, so boomers is like everything's made for me. I
Yeah.
want to keep going. Gen X, what's Gen X? Based off of everything we know so far.
It's like pop culture references.
I think I agree with you so far. I think for Gen X though, skip it. Go on. Gen Y. What's Gen Y? Millennials.
Never grows up.
I'm 40 years old. I wonder what I'm gonna be when I grow up. That really sums it up. I think that's really good. All right, Gen Z.
All right, schizophrenia.
Okay, yeah. And autism.
Yeah, schizophrenia, autism.
Autismophrenia.
The spectrum.
Well, I mean that's
Spectrum.
that's it. That's the hyper focus and then the schizoid withdrawal.
Yeah. Okay, and then Gen Alpha. If I want to be trans Gen Alpha. Oh yeah, I'm 11 years old. And here's my impression of Gen Beta.
Just floating around in the
Floating around in like the ether in
whatever
soul,
that is.
soul dimension. Before they've been plucked out.
Do you think that Zoomers are going to grow up to become kind of boomers?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, probably.
I don't.
I think we're already doing it a little bit.
I don't
Well, they
think.
have the name.
No?
I don't think so. Okay, here's like cringe compilations.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was thinking about like making a Gen Z cringe compilation, but from the perspective of the year 2040, and it would be like, guys, here's how I quit masturbating by looking at the sun every morning.
Right.
Yeah. And like I only ate kiwis and my testosterone shot up.
Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Throw in
that
something
is
about
actually good.
SpongeBob.
You have a very good understanding of Gen Z from like the male perspective. From like this is actually like what man YouTube is like. It's like this red pill adjacent stuff. Yeah, I wonder what the cringe compilation would look like for like I don't know, a woman of your age. You know?
I don't want to say tarot. I like tarot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I'm not gonna start that, but I think I don't know.
Yeah, you brought the sun up. I love getting sun on my face in the morning, every single morning.
Yeah, but there's a specific like kind of esoteric like gazing at the sun for like
Yeah,
30 minutes.
it's this specific like it's very esoteric like ancient knowledge of like bathing in the sun cures your problems.
Yeah.
Oh, fair enough.
Also causes skin cancer.
Also the skin cancer. Maybe, but maybe that's just what they want you to
No,
think.
that's the sun lotion industry. That's big sun lotion. That is.
Yeah, the lotion actually gives you cancer.
That's what they don't want you to know. How should we wrap this up?
I think I'm feeling that we kind of dissected the whole myth of the generation.
I think we did a pretty good
I think
job.
so too.
Yeah.
Glad you pushed back on this nonsense in our heads.
Right.
We dissected, but we got to a point where
What have we
it's
learned
really
here? What have we learned here? That the generations are meaningless.
just a little bit. little bit more meaningless.
You agree a little bit with my position on this. People are people.
What I've learned is to ignore Gen X. This is all in one ear out the other.
It's gonna be the title of this podcast.
That really will be.
It's like Chad and Steve talk about.
Chad and Steve talk.
This entire I just realized our microphones aren't even plugged in.
Oh no, that would be cruel.
This entire time podcast.
You guys
mute their podcast.
That's silent generation.
Embrace your humanity.
Anyway, we tend to end this podcast by killing the guests.
Oh my gosh, that would be so dramatic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kill the guests.
Boom.